deciding game, but Patrick, he put a lot of pressure on Christian, and Christian really had no chance. So I think that's how Patrick he should play to have any chance to beat Timo Boll.
Well, they've definitely played close before. We'll get into that in a minute. Timo Boll, as you had a chance to see on screen, 36 years old, far the senior in this match, is currently world ranked number 11. His opponent, Patrick Franziska, as you can see, 24 years old, is the 25th seed in this tournament, as opposed to his opponent. And it's a European Championships men doubles champion that Jonathan Groth pointed out. Who is his doubles partner, Jonathan?
Oh, that's me. That's why I pointed out.
Nice. Little dab. Was that where the dab came in?
I think that was the Austria Open, European Championship. We were too happy to think about any celebration.
That's right. That was against the young Chinese players, right?
Yes, in the final, and we thought beforehand would be a very tough match, and you pointed out if we have to win, we have to dab, and I said, yeah, sure, no problem, because I thought maybe anyway we have no chance against the Chinese pair. But well, then it went very well, and we won 3-0, and yeah, we had to keep our promises to you.
I appreciate that. No, you're very reliable, and I think being dependable and being a person of your word, if you're not a person of your word, what do you really have, right?
Nothing.
Exactly. So, just to pay some respect to the umpire for the match and the assistant, the umpire here is Oh Young Sung, and then our assistant umpire, Lee Dae-woo. So Timo Boll is the only player currently in this tournament, and throughout this tournament, I believe, that's been world #1, and he's been #1 in the world 3 times. Many table tennis fans are quite familiar with Timo Boll, from his line of rackets to his incredible long list of wins and victories, to be able to compete with the best players in the world, to be competing with the Chinese, his short strokes, his hand switching, his backhand compilation on the official ITTF YouTube channel. And Timo Boll has had, I'd say, a pretty shaky year and a half between medical issues and some tough losses in Malaysia at the World Championships. But this tournament has been playing incredibly well. I mean, he made Gao Ning pretty much retire, just throw in the towel at the end of the match.
I think Gao Ning, after our first set, he didn't really believe he had any chance, and yeah, he won 11-2 the last 3 sets. It was very impressive.
So Franziska to start off this best of 7 with the serve. Now, I mentioned that we'd talk about it. The last time these guys played, it was in the Bundesliga. Is that right?
That's right. It was 2 weeks ago, and Franziska was leading 2-0 in set, but then he lost 3-2.
So Timo Boll stole it 3 straight games in the best of 5. And as you mentioned, Franziska is going to have to play incredibly well out here, which he's done so far in the singles event non-stop in this tournament. Clever serve there, wide, long to the forehand side.
Very clever. I think Timo Boll's tactic will be to move Franziska. He's a tall player, so he's not so fast as many, but he has more power than many other players.
As demonstrated clearly there. Now, we talk a lot about height in table tennis. You know, more reach but a bigger middle. Seems almost risky or difficult to move such a tall player, but I guess if you can play it that wide, they're going to recover more slowly, right?
I will wait for this point. Yes, Patrick's tactic will definitely be to put a lot of power, a lot of pressure. He's not as fast, and you will also not see him play forehand so many times from the backhand side. He will stay more with his backhand, and he wants some short rallies to finish it early. We saw it there. Patrick, after each shot, Timo step 1 meter behind because there's so much power he cannot stay forward, and that will be the difficult task for Timo Boll to stay close to the table and play a lot of speed, so Patrick doesn't have the chance to react.
We can see him trying to get in early in the point there with the Chiquita receive. But Timo Boll serves between the spin variation and keeping him low to the net. I feel like he's got incredible control of the ball. And we saw that in doubles a bit. The chop block, Patrick Franziska was using that more than I had seen from him in this tournament. But here, against Timo Boll's spinny shot, it doesn't come down.
It's just a reflex from Patrick. It's not something he do on purpose. Extremely strong backhand from Patrick. every time he hit with the backhand, Timo Boll doesn't have the answer here. I think he has to keep Patrick more to the middle or deep wide to the forehand to move Patrick.
Even though that shot misses the power, there's no question about how hard he's hitting it with the backhand.
Yes, Patrick, he definitely has to go for the backhand. There will be a couple of misses. I think also Timo Boll, he hit the edge of the racket on the return. But he cannot hold back with the backhand. He has to go for it.
Not a bad receive. Barely comes off the table, but he takes it right off the bounce. Boll waiting patiently for that extra spinny forehand shot for the third ball.
I think that is Timo Boll's best ball in his whole game. The half long with the forehand. It's so spinny and it's hard for any player to counter it.
I think that's a very interesting aspect to bring up. A lot of people watching might not consider where the ball bounces on the table and how it affects your rally. But sometimes slowing it down or softening it up, playing a little bit shorter even in your loop, can really break the rhythm and make it difficult to counter, yeah?
Definitely. I think it's very rare you see Timo Boll making any winners. His game is mostly about spin and placement and to find the weakness of his opponent. And he do that better than any other player in the world. Another backhand, and I think Timo Boll definitely has to stay away from that backhand. Has to keep him short or play him long in the middle. Because every time with the backhand, you can see he's late and doesn't find the answer.
Wow, that is power. Both sides. I mean, when have you seen Timo Boll get hit in the neck or wherever it was with the ball? I mean, he has such amazing reaction time.
His first receive was too high. He tried to change it away from the backhand to the part of the middle, but was too high. And yeah, when first Patrick hit his hard forehand, there's nothing to do.
He's starting to move him well here. From off the table at equal distance, Timo Boll's able to bend the ball either direction, from the inside out forehand or hooking a little into the body.
You can see that when Patrick gets in the middle, he's not as fast as Timo, and he was too late there.
6-10.
Long surprising service from Timo Boll, and yeah, Patrick, I think it was first time in the match Timo served long and Patrick was waiting it short in the forehand like he usually served.
Good timing for Timo Boll, earns 4 game points.
7-10.
You can see Timo Boll, it's probably a new ball they're playing with and it stops a bit more. That's why he's breathing on the ball to take away the dust or the chalk that is on the outside of a new ball.
Yeah, we see Dima actually put it in his mouth sometimes.
Yes, when it's new, it's stopping more on the table and it's harder to find the timing.
A lot of players like to rub it in the sweaty part of their shirt to get that sort of dust off the outside.
They wash it when they're selecting the ball. Oof. Extremely well backhand, very wide in the forehand. And Timo Boll actually tried it to play in the middle, but Patrick, he moved into the middle and played with the backhand. I think that's very clever decision because he's faster to move with the backhand than with his forehand.
Did you say they do wash the balls before the match?
Yes, I know Timo Boll, he asked many of his opponents here to wash the ball in water and rub it maybe with a towel to take away the chalk.
Clever serve at the reverse pendulum, short to the backhand side, and Timo Boll 11-8 takes game 1 over Franziska. So how many matches have you played against Timo Boll?
I played him a couple of times in the German league. I think 3 matches in the German league, and then I also played him at the European Championship 2016.
So 4 times total?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly because so far they were all victories for Timo Boll.
I see. Yeah, it's no fun to count, I guess, when you're on that end.
It's definitely more fun to count the victories.
Right. So what, as a personal, when Timo Boll played with me, it's not the same as when he plays with you. He's playing the same game against you, essentially bringing the same level of play that he's bringing against Franziska here. So his spin, you talked about his control. What else did you find to be extremely challenging about playing Timo Boll?
I think he's he's always adapting to the opponent. So if the opponent rises his level, then he just rises also. And if you're not playing well, maybe Timo, he also doesn't play so well. He doesn't make more effort than what it needs. So when I tried to lead against him, like at the European Championship, I was leading 3-2 and I only had one more game to win. But Timo, he just stepped up his game and then he won 4-3. And you see it so many times that when it's important, maybe he just changed a little bit in the service now in the first game. Only served to the forehand beginning, and when it's important, he made one long service to the backhand, and the last service he also made short to the backhand, and this he's doing extremely well.
Clever idea, but a tough serve to execute.
Second service error for Timo Boll. It's not so often you see that.
There's that spinny backhand. Very comfortable. As you mentioned, he generates so much spin. It's just such a confident shot from Timo Boll. A little bit off the edge there from Franziska. You know, we were talking yesterday about Timo Boll's adaptability and the fact that he can play the ball slower and spinnier, especially when he sees a player is farther from the table. Like, he can sort of dictate the pace of the rally quite well. And I think that confidence, that feeling, and also that experience really pays off.
Very well played from Patrick here, and was again the backhand that he played with much power, so he could come in with the forehand afterwards. You saw it there. And when he play one hard stroke, it's very hard for Timo to react, and he often just played soft on the table.
Warning on the service.
It's something we have seen more and more here at the Korea Open. I think the umpires have been told to look after service, and I have to say maybe sometimes been too much. Timo Boll have, I would say, one of the most legal service of all the players in the world.
Well, it's actually something in the broadcast we've talked about a lot. The umpires are under surveillance right now. They're being evaluated, and whenever the umpires are being evaluated, during the URC evaluators are here, the umpires and referees committee. Ooh, nice back.
You can see that Timo Boll, before he tried with his reverse service, he was told he had to throw it more straight. Now he tried, and he didn't have the same timing. It was way too high, his service, so Patrick could go and flick fast. And it can be something mentally that you shouldn't hold back in your service. Even you get a warning or maybe they take a service, you still have to keep trying. Of course, you cannot serve illegal, but you have to serve with full power. Extremely fast reaction from Timo. Patrick played a very, very fast backhand, but Timo, he just used the power of Patrick and played back in his backhand.
And as you mentioned, Timo Boll, not necessarily a power player, but a spin player, so good and crafty at using his opponent's spin and speed.
He's a very fast player, and when he's playing with his forehand, he can take the ball very early and not only play spin, but use the power of his opponent. Very strong from Patrick.
Quite clever, too. It looked like he was going to go cross court, and he played it down the line.
Yes, but it was again the first backhand that did it, that he could come with his forehand. Many times you see him playing one backhand, and after Timo Boll is playing the ball with a little bit too less power, and it makes give Patrick a lot of time to choose where he wants to play the next point.
4-5.
Very clever service from Timo. He keeps serving very short in forehand or very deep to the backhand. So Patrick, he doesn't know if he should stay close to the table or wait for the long service.
Oh, the counter backhand finds the net. Look at these fishing shots. What an outstanding rally. The defense from Franziska off the table, keeping a lot of pressure on Boll in this rally. The side spin on the second to last shot, finally driven back off the table in that kicking forehand loop. See Franziska looking to earn his way and come back into the table. Very steady play consistently from Timo Boll.
5-6.
There he had the chance to play his backhand straight up the line, but yeah, it was too long. It was the return from Timo Boll was a bit more in the middle, and he forced Patrick to move, and he was a bit too late. Timo Boll is trying to keep him away from the backhand, but play fast to the middle. That doesn't give Patrick any chance.
Again, a bit of surprise here, playing it out to the wide forehand. Talking with Julia yesterday, and you can talk about this as well as a left-handed professional yourself, that sometimes left-handed players like to step around the backhand corner, and so playing deep to their forehand can often be an opening or sometimes even a weakness.
Yeah, of course I cannot say give the weakness of myself.
What's the secret to beating you?
Oh, I cannot tell. No, but it's true. Because against when it's left-right players playing against each other, there is a lot of space in the forehand that there is not when it's two left-handed or two right-handed players plays against each other.
And we've seen more two left-handed matches in this tournament than I've seen in some time, actually. Several back-to-back yesterday. Quite a commitment to come around for the Chiquita, wide on the forehand side. Opening backhand, leaving a lot of space to recover for the follow-up ball, but Timo Boll's placement was quite good on his third ball block.
I think you can fear that Patrick, he fears the forehand of Timo Boll, and many times he played the first ball to the backhand. But seems like at the moment he has to move Timo Boll a little bit because Timo is staying from the backhand corner. Yes, exactly there. You saw Patrick go with the first ball, with the first shot to the forehand, and Timo, he's waiting in the backhand. He has to move him a little bit more, play the first shot in the middle or in the forehand, and then after he can take him wide in the backhand. It's one of Timo Boll's favorite shot, the half-long forehand. It's very hard to counter it back, and mostly you can only block it soft on the table, but that's also not enough for a guy of Timo Boll's strength.
So in a situation like that, do you feel that Patrick Franziska needs to try and stay in at the table a little bit on top of the ball?
It's very hard because he wants to keep the rally short. Very strong play here. He wants to keep the rally short, and every time it's been a longer rally, I think Timo Boll has been in favor. And Patrick, he has to finish the points after one or two shots, otherwise he's not fast enough, and Timo Boll, he's definitely too safe. Again here, his forehand, there is so much spin, and it's very hard to know what to do, because if you are just putting it back on the table with backhand, then you just leave Timo Boll to all the plays, and he forced Patrick to do so many errors, and it doesn't look like it looks like of nothing special, but yeah, it's extremely high level.
Even the backhand receive here over the table. Timo Boll comes back. Was down trailing near the end of this game. Has another game point to go up 2-0 here. Nice deep push by Franziska into the backhand corner.
It will be very interesting now to see what Timo Boll will do in his own service. To play it short to the forehand, or maybe short backhand or long backhand. Looks like the reverse service.
10-11.
Patrick, he did it right there. It was a topspin service from Timo Boll, and he flicked it, but yeah, he went a little bit away from the ball with the body, and that's why it was net out instead of on the table.
Again, the heavy spin, slightly slower pace, but a very spinny shot from Timo Boll to take the second game in a row.
You can see Patrick, he's struggling very much with the heavy spin from Timo Boll, and I think he has to, beginning of the next set, when Timo Boll is have the first attack, to just get the block on the table and then see if he can come back in the point, because now there has been, I think, 4 errors on the heavy topspin, because yeah, it's so much quality in both the forehand and in the backhand.
Now Patrick Franziska played a doubles final not too long ago today, the first match of the day. We see him over there trying to hydrate, get some potassium in him, something to just make sure the muscles don't cramp up at all. You know, talked to Timo Boll. I read online someone said that Timo Boll overslept before he played Gao Ning. And
yeah.
I wanted to confirm that, so I talked to him today. I think it was at lunch that he said, yeah, I slept for 13 hours. Someone had to wake me up. It was 1 o'clock. I went to bed at midnight the night before. What do you know about that?
Yeah, I know it too. Actually, Jörg Boskov, he was, I think, supposed to play 2:45, and Jörg Boskov was calling him like 12:30 and 1:30, sorry. And yeah, his phone was off, and he woke up and he went straight to the hall and played 2 minutes and gave his racket. And yeah, and after counting, he didn't have a chance. Very impressive performance after no warming up at all.
So when someone says he could beat you in his sleep, it's almost literal.
It's true, actually. Very clever here. You can see Timo Boll make a lot of heavy topspin on the first ball, but Patrick, he just slowed down his first counter a little bit, put 10% less power, put it back on the table, and then try to come back in the point.
Clever serve, but a fast reaction on the receive from Timo Boll. You know, what you were saying about playing out wide to the forehand, you know, a right-handed player versus a left-handed player, we saw that a lot in the women's final, too.
Yes, they were both trying to take the player out wide and then back to the backhand corner. The women players, they are staying a little bit closer to the table, so they are closing the forehand corner a little bit more, and that's why many of times they could get it back.
Oh, look at the placement. This is not quite a fishing game. This is a bit more of a drive, like a counter punch almost from Timo out to the forehand side. Takes some real confidence when you've got such hard shots coming into your backhand. This is what Timo's been known to do.
He actually get a little bit of side spin in the ball, so it's going even wider to the forehand.
It's like that backhand he had against Ma Long that was all over ITTF's channels.
2-3.
Timo Boll's first return gets a little bit too long, gives the opportunity to Patrick to start with the forehand topspin, and he get very much topspin on it. Oh, what a backhand. There he goes deep wide to the forehand, and I think it's something he has to do more and more, because yeah, Timo Boll, he's waiting many times in the backhand corner, and I think there has been point almost every time he went wide to the forehand.
So at the first towel break of the game, I'd like to tell you a little fun fact about Patrick Franziska. I asked him if table tennis was his first sport, and he said, actually, gymnastics. Can you imagine a 190-centimeter guy his size being a gymnast?
I think no wonder that he stopped with gymnastics and went to table tennis.
Right, he actually picked up football as well. Some know as soccer, football to the majority of the world, I believe. And around 12 or 13, he said he had to pick one because it was becoming too time-consuming. And he picked table tennis, fortunately for us.
Actually, it sounds like something I know. I played first soccer or football when I was 5. Then I started with table tennis when I was 8, and when I was 11 years old, I also had to pick one or the other because both took too much time. Every weekend I had to make a choice, and yeah, just the same as Patrick Franziska.
And I think Timo Boll wanted to be a banker. So a little bit different trajectory, I guess, from the start.
Yeah, I think there's not so many players when they are 3, 4, 5, 6 years old that they know that they are gonna be a professional table tennis players. It's mostly later on.
Wow, the backhand in that rally. Timo Boll gets one back, I think, from the middle, and then there was the big backhand. I have to see this one more time. Sets up. This is, I mean, Fan Zhendong has a backhand that sometimes equals his forehand in strength and power. Franziska doing just the same thing here. Timo Boll almost has to turn his back to the table to try to cover the middle.
5-6.
Patrick, he's going a little bit earlier to the service. You can see if he's staying closer to the short and forehand. And if the service will be in the backhand, he will just take again there. He's going very early to the forehand corner and waiting for the short forehand. And I guess he probably said, if Timo Boll will make a long in my backhand, doesn't matter. Anyway, he served most of his service short in the forehand, and I have to catch this one first. And 2 times he went very early there and played with a lot of pressure. Also a very important set for Patrick. You have to stay in this match.
Right, this could be the turning point. A 1-2 match is quite different than down 0-3.
Very clever return from Timo Boll. He goes with the backhand in the middle and played back to Patrick's middle. And you can see Patrick, he wants to play with the backhand, but it's too wide, and yeah, he doesn't get his body behind the ball.
Little help off the top of the net, but a clever combination. The ball before he played softly as Timo Boll was behind the table and then went for the next shot for the inside-out loop.
You can see he hit the ball from very low. It's quite impressive. He managed to put it back on the table.
Now here's a question for you. As a server at this level, how often do you toss the ball, see that your receiver is moving, and change the placement of your serve?
It doesn't happen that often. Usually you keep with your first thought and you stay with the service. Also, if you change direction or change service, you probably will not have the same quality. So even if the opponent he moved, maybe he can recover because the service doesn't have the same quality as what you intended to do.
So this is the pressure point right now. 8 points each. Pressure's only going to get thicker and heavier as this game continues.
Oh, unbelievable catch from Timo.
Yeah, this is the Timo Boll that we feel like we've been watching for years and years, and for the last year and a half only get to see from time to time. But this tournament, he's playing incredibly well. Now, neither player has a coach in the corner. Despite me asking Roskopf yesterday if he was going to coach Franziska, he said against Timo Boll, I said, good points. Forgot who he was playing in the final. So it's all up to Franziska to gather his thoughts, sort of figure out his game plan here.
I think the point he just thought he was doing the right thing. He put a lot of pressure on Timo, but unless the other points, Timo Boll, he stayed very close to the table with the backhand. He didn't, even though a lot of power, he stayed close, and yeah, he put a lot of pressure back with the last forehand and played it wide. I think Patrick, he now made a long service to backhand. He will probably go with a short service to the forehand, short upspin, and then he hope he can, I think, take him wide in the forehand in the next shot.
8-9.
Let's see what happens here. Check for a cracked ball. It's pretty rare with the new balls.
Yeah, it's the first tournament with the new balls, D40. And they are a bit harder, so they doesn't crack so often.
Oh, beautiful finish. Good call on that one, Jonathan.
Yeah, actually it was a good receive from Timo. He played it half long to the middle, you can see there. But this forehand was exactly in Patrick's backhand, and yeah, that's his best shot, to play it diagonal.
So far the timeout seems to have paid off, but of course he has to complete this game. Gets the first point out for a little bit of encouragement and confidence. There it was, the long serve to the backhand that we talked about.
That's very typical Timo Boll. When it's important, when it's 9-9, he make a small change in his service or in his receive, and there we saw it. Long to the backhand, and Patrick, he was already early, waiting for the short forehand, and he was too late. And there came the short in the forehand, but Patrick, he knew Timo will not serve 2 times long in my backhand, and he went early again.
It's funny, bold is the term that I was thinking, which isn't a last name, pun intended, but simply that he would play it deep to the backhand one more time because we were saying how he plays bold under pressure.
11-10.
Do you feel like he turns up the risk when there is more on the line in the high pressure situations?
No, he doesn't turn up the risk. He just make a small change in his game. I mean, small tactical change. Usually he keep the tactic during the set, and then when it's important, the opponent thinks he will probably make the same service or keep the same tactic, but then he make a small change.
Oh my goodness, what a save for Timo Boll after that timeout. Manages to turn it around, keep one on the table, and steal game 3. And always gracious, quickly apologizing. You could hear the racket slammed, or dropped on the table rather, from Franziska in frustration.
You can see on the score now it has been 3 very close sets, but when it's 10-10 or when it's 9-9, it's there you see who is the stronger mentally. And yeah, Timo Boll has a lot of experience. He has been in many finals, and this is new for Patrick, and that's maybe why we see the biggest difference so far in the match.
So we've talked a lot about Patrick Franziska's injuries, and that Timo Boll's had some ups and downs, surgery, I believe. Do you know a bit about the specifics of Timo Boll's conditions or injuries?
I don't know exactly I know he's been sometimes out with injury. I've heard with the foot, but yeah, I think Timo Boll, he needs like a couple of months with full practice every time to come back in shape. And if he always have 1 month and then he's out for a couple of weeks or a month, yeah, then it's hard to come back in shape. But now he has been without injury for a couple of time, and hopefully he will be in top shape for the World Championship in Düsseldorf in 1 month.
Yeah, we talked yesterday about how sweet that would be to take it in front of the home crowd in his own home country, where he is the biggest legend.
Bold serve. Love all.
Nice tactic, playing out wide to the forehand after the early backhand opening. Now, talking about injuries, Franziska's only been playing, what, a month and a half since he had to take 3.5 months off?
Very strong. Yeah, as I said earlier, he got injured just after the Swedish Open, and I think he's been back in practice for about 2 months, and this is his first tournament, so it's a very impressive performance he has done here, and he will also be playing at the World Championship, so I think he will be very interesting to see how he will do it also.
1-2.
Every time it's a little bit longer rally, you can see Timo Boll, he makes no mistakes, and it's very hard for Franziska to keep playing his hard strokes 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then he doesn't have enough time.
3-1.
We've seen him make shots of that quality before from below the table with heavy spin. Last time I recall it was the forehand. He's playing ambitiously though. He's trying to stay aggressive even when he gets backed off the table.
I think now he's trying sometimes to play the first to the backhand, then deep wide to the forehand. I think he should start deep wide to the forehand, force Timo Boll to move a little bit more.
Well, that's actually Koki Niwa beating Xu Xin. Said the same thing. We've got a guy who's got such a strong forehand, left-handed player. Move him out to the forehand first and then play behind him on the next ball. Although different players, Xu Xin and Timo Boll, I think Timo Boll's much more comfortable using his backhand in a rally.
Yes, Xu Xin, he's a very fast player. He wants to play forehand all the table, and he's not staying so close to the table as Timo Boll. Timo Boll, he tried to take every ball early when the ball is on the way up, and Xu Xin, many times you see him, the ball is on the way down when he's playing his forehand. There again, he played 2 times to the backhand, and Timo, he's staying now close to the table with the backhand. He doesn't go 1 meter behind after every shot. You can see he's really fighting. He was a bit late with the backhand, but he's really fighting to stay close, and I think Patrick has to maybe move him a little bit more wide to the forehand.
6.
Impressively heavy push there, that receive right off the bounce from Timo.
Timo Boll, he clearly has playing the same tactic again and again. Playing short to the forehand or deep wide to the backhand middle. So Patrick, he has a long way to move.
Beautiful combination, one down the line and out to the forehand, but high pressure shots right off the bounce from Franziska.
The backhand he played there was on extremely high level, and 2 times in a row he took it just after the bounce, and yeah, was a very good point.
3-7.
Again, we see the Timo Boll's favorite shot, the half long with the forehand, and there's point directly because it's so much spin, you don't know if you should block it on the table or go for a winner.
What a frustrating experience having so many loops from off the table being blocked down by Timo Boll, just redirecting, playing the angles.
I think what is the difficult for Patrick Franziska is when he's playing with backhand, he can get a wide angle with the forehand. He doesn't get the same angle.
9-3.
And if there's one more point here for Timo Boll after this towel break, I wouldn't be surprised to see an exhibition point.
Yeah, sometimes it happens when it's in the big hall and it's an important match. But yeah, we will see. Depends if Patrick believes he can make a comeback or not.
A long way to go. We've seen a lot of comebacks. I know you guys saw one in doubles.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, gets to the ball, has time, tries to just float it up with a backhand chop. Clever play and placement from Franziska after that wide shot to the forehand. See, for me, this is one of those liner scores, like 10-3, 10-2 against a 3-0 lead for your opponent. You might see an exhibition here. You could, but still, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Franziska fighting for a comeback. And fighting he is, takes the next point with an aggressive long serve to the backhand and a quick follow-up attack.
There you can see at the last forehand, he turned his wrist to get the ankle out wide forehand, and that's what he has been missing some of the earlier points.
10-6.
Still very aggressive. Sounded like it contacted the edge of the racket. That's what the apology must have been for there. 2 game points, championship points rather. Game, match, championship points saved. And Timo Boll is the champion, 4 games to 0. Timo Boll is back in fashion. What a performance to take down a man that nobody else could take down. Patrick Franziska played an outstanding tournament, and Timo Boll not dropping a single game in the final. In outstanding form coming up into the World Championships next month. Jonathan, what are you thinking?
It was very impressive performance from Timo Boll. The first 3 sets was very close, but every time it was important, he managed to change his tactic a little bit and surprise Patrick Franziska. And yeah, it worked well. And he in the last set, he played relaxed, and Patrick, he couldn't really find any answers to Timo Boll's overall very well performance today.
Well, strong effort from Franziska, some outstanding shots and rallies throughout this match, but Timo Boll, the better of the 2, definitely here today. And I know the world is excited to see Timo Boll come back to the level that he's played at for so long. So he will be standing on top of the podium as the men's singles champion for the Korea Open 2017. Stick around, we've got the awards ceremony coming up in just a bit. Jonathan, thanks for joining me in the commentator's booth.
Thank you very much, and I hope I'll be back in the future.
Likewise, stay right with us.